Hey, what's going on, guys? This is the Monday Reddit podcast for 5/18/2020. Missed a week last week. Was having some technical errors out here, so wasn't able to get my PC working. Got it working, got everything set up a little bit better this week, so I can get to your guys' questions. Still training. You guys didn't lose me again for a long time. I was just had some technical errors. As always, quick shout out to NatFit, Country Crush, Lion Straps, and Smoking Sixes Meal Prep. Still use my discount code if you guys get a chance at Smoking Sixes Meal Prep. Use DREK10, DWREK 10, the number 10, and I'll get you guys 10% off. Hit them up, guys. I actually have those meal preps like every day. I order 14 of them a week, so I have 2 a day in my fridge, which is nice supplementing like my regular meals that I'll still cook and stuff or get, but I have those in between, so it really helps out to keep myself fueled up. So as far as what's been going on with me, feels good. Been training heavy again. My buddy Gage Jordan, my gym partner and my teammate, he's been coming over pretty regularly. We built a gym in the garage, and we've been lifting pretty heavy. Really getting back in the swing of things. Feels good. Been sore a lot lately, which is, I guess a good sign, kind of, that I'm making gains and my body's adjusting again. So just breaking down the workouts and stuff like that, and singling out the muscles, and really learning how to lift in the garage and hit how to get all the lifts that I want. So like when I do biceps, I like to do aim for 5 different bicep lifts, 5 different whole workouts that target bicep. Okay, so I had to get a little inventive in the garage because there's not a lot of materials to work with compared to a big gym. So that's been a little bit of a struggle, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have felt. You guys are working out at home and stuff like that. So, but just mixing up partials and full range stuff, and then how and where like your elbow is placed in certain areas and stuff like that are ways to switch up the lifts. And then there's static holds, and there's if you believe in negatives, then there's negatives, or dynamic explosive movements or slow controlled ones. So a lot of ways to vary with the lifts. You just got to use your imagination a little bit, guys. Anyway, so that's the lifting thing's been going good, and we've been having some practices. I'm going to start having consistent Sunday practices. Screw this Corona crap for now. I don't know. I'm over it. So, not saying you guys should. I'm just saying I need that table time, and by the looks of people that are practicing with me and how many people are showing up, other people agree. We don't got no time for that. We had a good practice on Sunday, good turnout, and we'll continue to go forward. It's crazy how much endurance went. That's the biggest thing I'm noticing on table time right now, is that since I had been taking so much time off of pulling, when I'm used to pulling at least once a week, it's my endurance on the table. So after 1 or 2 guys, I arm wrestle. If I sit at an arm wrestling table and I arm wrestle 1 guy or 2 guys, by the 3rd guy, I feel like I'm at like 65% of what I'm not near. My endurance is the biggest hit for sure. My top end strength it's not where it was, but it's not far off. But my endurance definitely took a big hit. So working hard in the gym, we're going to get that consistent table time going again. For me, where I'm at in my career, normally I wasn't focusing on table time a bunch, but until I get back up to speed, until I start feeling comfortable, until my transitions on the table and my table IQ kind of get really sharp again, I'm going to sit on the table as much as I can. So yeah, I need my teammates listening to that. Whenever you guys see me around in practice, make me arm wrestle with you. Just go. I need to just go through the motions more and more and more, and stay sharp if you guys see me slacking. Okay, guys. So on to the Reddit stuff. I'm just gonna scroll back about 6 days ago because like I said, I didn't do one for last week. So we'll get into it. I'm gonna start with my boys Minhale's post. It says, "Why are fingers often said to be the most important part of arm wrestling? The common wisdom is that the descending level of importance starts at the fingers and goes down to the legs. But do fingers really play such a huge role? In the straps, I feel like we don't even use fingers that much." So, if you're talking about in general arm wrestling, right? If you're talking about just specific strap arm wrestling, then the title of this post should be are fingers important in the straps? Okay, the fingers are not as important in strap arm wrestling as outside of the straps, right? A lot of matches, top end matches, elite level, are almost all in the straps. But there's very few people at that level, and very few people live in the straps. Now, at a local level, an amateur level, all that stuff, your local pros and all that stuff, there's going to be a lot of matches that are not going to be in the straps, unless it's conflicting styles, right? Unless you have two low hand top rollers and they're just going to slip every time, right? So as a lot of people hold on, is what I'm saying. At local events, everybody's holding on and squeezing as tight as they can and stuff, so the matches stay out of the straps. So that being said, most of arm wrestling is outside the straps still. I'm not saying it's the right way, but most of it is. So since most of arm wrestling is outside the straps, then yes, fingers the most important. Now, fingers still do play a role inside strap arm wrestling, but yeah, not as big because the strap will hold on for you. But it's definitely still play a role. You can squeeze and ball up a fist and make your hand thicker, so the strap doesn't apply as much or doesn't bite on. Okay, wait. So you have space in your hand, so the strap bites on more to your hand, so they can't get around the back of your hand a little more. If you understand what I'm saying, it's kind of hard to explain, I guess. But yeah, no, definitely there's still a place in strap arm wrestling for grip and hands, which is why Devin always talks about lately about how he's training his grip, and now he's focused a lot of his training on grip. That doesn't mean he's not going to be using strap pulling, but it means that he's found a place, especially within his King's move, where having a strong grip can definitely help him out and give him an edge. So, but yeah, I mean, outside the straps, yeah, your fingers are big, or your hand, is big, right? Just it doesn't mean crushing strength like grippers. It means like cupping strength and containing and having your bottom two fingers be as strong as you can get them, so you can control someone's hand and stuff like that. So if you just talk to John Brzezinski, he'd still be a big believer in hand control and things like that, right? So I know it's a lost art. Everybody just runs only the straps, but hand control is still really big. And you generally want to have height. So if you can control your hand like a high hook and control the top of the arm wrestling match, then everything does start from the top and work its way down to your feet, right? In levels of importance. So anyway, moving forward, posted by Ray Tracani, says Danny Tesh is a legend. Danny Tesh is a legend. Like, I'm totally on the hype train for Danny Tesh, an Australian arm wrestler. I think he's on Ryan Bowen's team. I don't know how often he's training right now. I'm hearing conflicted stories about if Danny's actively training right now. But the guy, is a beast, especially left-handed. And there's videos of him having wars with Devin, like an after, side pulling and stuff. And, yeah, he looks like an absolute monster. Had his WAL match, and he won that. And the dude is just... I think the only thing that's going to hold him back is that he's so calm and so quiet, at least when the camera's around, that, they want people that are exciting. They want people that are going to be, mad dogging everybody and freaking out on stage and stuff like that. And Danny's, from what I see, is not that guy. So it sucks because I think that's what's going to hold him back from getting a lot of WAL matches and big, chances on big fight cards and stuff like that. But hopefully it doesn't. The dude is an absolute beast. And he deserves a shot or to be on some top cards for sure. So, but yeah, this is a link to an Instagram video showing how awesome Danny Tesh is. Moving forward, posted by Josh Plays Ultimate. Beginner here. After a few months of all strength training being targeted range of motion, my arm only opens this far without a real stretch. Is this related to not using full range of motion? If so, should I put in some days of full motion? And then he has a picture of his arm straightened out, and it doesn't straighten out all the way without being tight. I think that's just general, especially if you're a beginner. I mean, you're not doing King's moves yet. It's just general muscle tightness. Now, as far as giving you advice of whether or not you should train full range of motion, I mean, that's on you, man. I still haven't even come to terms with 100% on partials and limited range of motion lifting and full range of motion lifting in relation to arm wrestling as far as strength gains. When I definitely do full range of motion for all my rehab work, but I mix it up between partial range of motion stuff and full range of motion stuff in a lot of my lifts. I don't know. I can definitely go heavier on the partials, and I feel like it's more controlled. But as far as the science of it, I always just hear conflicting things back and forth of whether or not partials will give you as much strength as a full range of motion movement. So, yeah, I say mix it up with full range and partials for sure. Don't just be one trick pony. Also, a lot of people, especially with their biceps, I mean, if that's what you're talking about here, neglect their long head and their short head of their biceps. You guys do some research on there and see how to target your long head and your short head specifically. A lot of arm wrestlers only do one. And really, I mean, my thought is that we're doing so much bicep work in arm wrestling. It is such a bicep heavy movement. I mean, depending on your style, that having both attachment points, where your tendons attach, having both of those strong and built up, both parts of the muscle built up, is important, right? Not just the one that mimics arm wrestling, I would think, right? And there's also times where your elbow does drop back and you're more in an offensive style of arm wrestling where you'd be using the other part of your bicep, right? So keep that in mind. I don't know. My whole, training right now philosophy is basically training, isolating like a bodybuilder, arm wrestling muscles, right? So, biceps, brachialis, different, your rear delt, your, side delt, all that stuff, isolating it all. But then as far as the rep range and the amount of weight, lifting as if, you're going for strength gains like powerlifter. So it's lower reps, high weight, keeping you around, 85, 90% on your lifts. So I always aim for like 6 reps. But I isolate, like I really do specifics on the, when I'm in the gym. Like I try to isolate as much as I can. That's really important to me. It's because I like to go into a movement when I'm working on an arm wrestling movement. And this is one reason I subscribe to Ingen's philosophy so well. And I'm so happy that he helped me out for the time that he did. Is that I agree. I think a lot of the same ways that Ingen does. I like being able to look at a movement, a hook, say, or whatever, right, or my hook, and being like, okay, I'm failing. My elbow's not sliding, so that's side pressure. So side pressure is chest and shoulder. Okay, so chest and shoulder. I need to focus on that at the gym. And specifics, right? And so I'd like to be able to find out exactly what's wrong with my car and take the car into the shop and get that piece fixed, rather than just generally being like, I need to get stronger in a hook. And a hook is a compound movement. A hook has, you're using 25 different muscles in a hook. So I like to know specifically what part of my hook is going wrong and then targeting that, right? And a lot of people, I feel like, do a lot of compound movements, and that's really... it's not specific enough for me. It's too general of a movement, of a sweeping motion, because you have chest, shoulder, bicep, and then who knows what's failing. I mean, a lot of people don't understand what's failing in the movements, and so then they just overcompensate. So, say you're doing some compound hooking motion, you're on a table, an arm wrestling table, and you have a pulley system. Well, you start doing some cool hooking motion, and, say your bicep starts failing, so you compensate by using way more chest or shoulder and stuff like that. And so the next week you try the same thing, but now your bicep feels a little fresher, so you rely on your bicep more. Now your numbers are totally different. Compound movements are hard to track and stay on top of. A lot of people I know, I was just talking to Wes Bjornson about this just the other day, is that like these lifts you see on Facebook and stuff that everybody's practicing these, let's test the side pressure, let's see if you can get the most side pressure. The angles are so weird, it's not specific, right? And so someone made a post on Reddit a while ago asking about standardization of some of the lifts. Using all these compound movements that everybody uses, like standardization is going to be like impossible. We can't all get on the same page because we're all built different and there's different angles and stuff. So when working our side pressure, that's so many different muscles involved, right? And so yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of compound movements. I know I view compound movements, especially like arm wrestling movements. So compound movements are movements, by the way, guys, for the new people listening, are movements where you're using a lot of different muscles at once, right? But I would say I view those lifts as ways to have like muscle synergy. That's something you guys are going to hear me say a lot, if I can remember that word all the time, about just linking all the muscles together and getting them to work well together. So like a pull-up, right? Not saying the pull-ups aren't great, and they are. And there's definitely been amazing arm wrestlers that have made huge gains with pull-ups. But I'm saying that taking these individual muscles that I've built individually and then syncing them all together on big compound movements. That's how I view it. I don't view it a compound movement as the best way to tear up the individual muscles in the movement. I see it as the best way to sync them together and get them working cohesively together. So that way when I go on the arm wrestling table, I'm used to my lat working well with my shoulder, or whatever muscles I want. So that's how I see the compound movements. Yeah, you can make solid gains, but I just like targeting them individually, then putting the pieces of the puzzle together. So I take the engine apart, get all the nicest parts, then put all the parts together. Anyway, moving forward. Posted by Yerba Mate Dude, Madi Dude. It says table IQ. What exactly is it? Well, I mean, table IQ is just your knowledge of arm wrestling on the actual table. So not even talking about training off the table, which is definitely a huge part, obviously. But that table IQ refers to just like how much you know about arm wrestling. Like not just your. I think table IQ is something that's more like the written test, and then there's table reactions or tendencies or there's two ways to separate it, I think that a lot of people, and there's a lot of arm wrestlers, can write down the answer to a lot of problems. Like here, like perfect example. What I'm doing right here, I'm answering your guys' questions, and hopefully I'm giving you guys solid answers and things that you guys like to hear to help you out. But so this is kind of more of a way to answer table IQ when you have time to think about an answer. Now, the application of your table IQ is where a lot of people fall off, right? And I'm definitely not a master of it. So I think when you see people like John and Devin, and you see them making amazing, changes mid-match, I think that's the way you apply your table IQ. So I think that's like, I don't know. There's a difference between having high table IQ and application for sure, I guess you'd say, is what I'm trying to say. So, but table IQ would be like, okay, when a guy does a low hand top roll, he's posting for a low hand top roll, then your arm wrestling 101 answer would be to have a high knuckle because he's already dropping his angle to you, and then you could post into his fingers, right? That'd be the arm wrestling 101 answer to that. So that'd be a version of table IQ, right? Having higher table IQ, or knowing that when a guy low hand top rolls that he's targeting your bottom fingers specifically, so don't play his game with him. I don't know, just it happens over time. And some people can't even explain their table IQ, right? So there's arm wrestlers out there who are really smart arm wrestlers on the table, and they make great adjustments, but they can't explain it to save their lives. And so those are usually the guys that practice that just say things like, well, you do this, and you just rip them over like this, and they can't really break down the movements or explain why and what's going on. They just kind of say things. I definitely know a few people like that. But yeah, so you got to I don't know, table IQ, just how much you know about on table arm wrestling, I'd say. All right, moving forward. Posted by Ryan Blue Bowen. It says Ryan Bowen versus Lachlan Adair tonight at 6-round practice super match is going down between myself, and Lachlan Adair. How do you see it going? And most people voted Lachlan yawns through it. And I know Lachlan won. I don't know the specifics of the practice match, like exactly what rounds how it went, but I know Lachlan won. He looked really strong. I think I was falling asleep when I watched it the other night, though. So, yeah. I mean, Lachlan's looks like a monster. That's one guy I've always wanted to arm wrestle. So, at one point he'll travel, or maybe one day I'll go out there and we'll be able to lock up and get some pulling in. Lachlan, if you hear this, I want to pull with you. Moving forward, posted by Paracordist. It says RVJ versus Chuck Ryder $1,000 match live Saturday. And someone made a poster about RVJ, Rob Vigent Jr. against Chuck Ryder for $1,000 on the Granite Arms Facebook page. Granite Arms is one of the longest standing teams in the country for sure, and they're out in New Hampshire, and that's ran by Badger Drews. I think he's the captain of it. Awesome team, awesome captain. A lot of the pullers that come out there are really, really strong dudes. Definitely have a lot of respect for that team, by the way. So you guys get a chance to check out their Facebook page. After that, moving forward, posted by Ryan Blue Bowen. It says, same weight, no strap training super match. And it's a link to a video between Ryan Bowen and Jordan Davis arm wrestling at Ryan's house. yeah, so it's just them getting some table time in. It's like, oh crap, sorry, that's loud. It's like a 20-minute video of them just working out. You guys get a chance, I guess, check that out. Definitely, I've hung out with Ryan. I've had him come out here and stay in the hometown and practice with my team. And same thing with Jordan. Jordan parked his RV at my grandma's house and has practiced with my team. Both great guys. So you can definitely learn a lot. Different conflicting styles for sure. Yeah. All right, moving forward. Posted by... Oh, hold on one second. Posted by the Watzini. Says, beginner questions. Hey, arm wrestlers, I just want to say it's motivating and inspiring to see so many strong people. After exploring on the web and seeing this huge community, I've been working out some basic arm wrestling strength. I want to challenge my friends, especially after the pandemic passes, but I'm worried they may be insecure or hesitant to try out. Also, I wouldn't want to get hurt or hurt them. That makes sense. Have you ever had an experience like this? Have you convinced anyone to try arm wrestling and become somewhat of training partners? Okay, so awesome that you are being conscious of their safety and your safety, right? That's always the first thing. That's where I start with everybody. Anybody that comes to my practice, this is how you don't break your arm. This is how you do break your arm, and this is what we do to prevent it. Like, that's the first thing I explain. I explain to them the mechanics of an arm break and what we do to avoid it and to make sure it doesn't happen to us, right? So that's what I would say for you. There's a lot of videos out there. I mean, I even have a video. I think the first video I ever did on my YouTube page, if you scroll all the way down, is a how to arm wrestle video where I explain how to not break your arm. But also, I think every arm wrestling YouTube channel pretty much has one. I think Ryan Bowen has done them. Coach Ray has them on his channel, The Voice of Arm Wrestling. All those channels have a how to not break your arm in arm wrestling video somewhere. So just search it out. It shouldn't be too hard to find. But so that's the stuff you want to push to your friends and promote to them. Is that first thing when people hear arm wrestling in the general public, the first thing they say is, I don't want to break my arm, I don't want to tear my shoulder, oh, I had an old football injury and I don't want to reactivate that, and or whatever. And explain to them, there's ways to stay safe. Now, is arm wrestling going to hurt regardless? Yeah, it is. Right? There's no way around that. If you're arm wrestling, you're going to be sore, your joints are going to be beat up. But as far as having like a substantial injury, that doesn't have to happen. Does it happen often? Yeah, it does. If people aren't smart and they're not conscious of their angles. What really breaks people's arms in the most part is pride. I can explain. There's so many times I've explained to a guy how to not break his arm, and then they've still broken their arm. Right? It happens all the time with amateurs. Is that they just get so competitive and they're losing because their muscles are failing, and so they freak out. And then the last ditch effort, they try to find some more horsepower by throwing their shoulder over, and they snap their arm in half. Right, so it's a big thing of pride. In my experience, a lot of people, not all people, but a lot of people that break their arm are just too prideful, man. They want to win so bad that they'll do whatever happens, whatever it takes to get it done. So, talk to your friends about that. Watch the videos with them. Share those thoughts with them about staying safe. But let's see. Have you had an experience like this where I taught someone how to arm wrestle and they got hurt? I've had people on my team. I've had one guy on my team break his arm at a tournament, which sucked. He was winning the match. I was cheering for him. We all were, and it just was a kind of a freak accident. The angles were really weird. There wasn't very common angles that you see, and his arm snapped. But as far as but he had been practicing with me. We'd gone over safety a bunch of times. It happened, man. He got really excited, and he saw the pin coming, and he was arm wrestling someone he really wanted to beat, and he was winning, and it gave out. He wasn't being conscious of his rotation in his hand. He was on the winning side of the table, but his palm was basically facing the sky. He was getting rotated because the other guy's hand was a little stronger, so he was getting rotated, and he kept forcing sideways, and the whole thing snapped. So, have I convinced anyone to try arm wrestling and become somewhat of training partners? I see. My first training partner ever consistently was a guy named Leo, the guy that runs Lion Straps. So I met him at an arm wrestling tournament. Now I've had a bunch of arm wrestling friends before that, but not consistent training partners. So he was the first one really that was really, really local and that had a passion for arm wrestling and started training with me. So I met him at a tournament, and we went, the next, I got his number, exchanged his number, and the next day we drove up to a big practice, or a couple days after that, we drove up to a really big practice, and he was just getting started. I was about 4 years into the sport, and those 4 years before that, it was just me doing bullcrap training in my bedroom with like rubber bands and YouTube videos and trying to figure it out. And I had no idea what I was doing. But yeah, I mean, he ended up starting my team with me. He started Alpha Empire, my arm wrestling team, with me, and now we're one. Especially if we have everybody showing up, we're one of the biggest teams in the nation, and we have a great group of people and some amazing arm wrestlers. And Leo's still around to this day. So yeah, you just got to find someone. Have I convinced any of my real life friends to get all the way into arm wrestling? No, it's a hard sell if they don't see it. The best thing I can do is that when practice does come around, or you do get a chance to have one of your buddies go on an arm wrestling table, try to get them to an actual arm wrestling table and show them how intricate arm wrestling is. The biggest light bulb I ever see on people's faces is when you start really explaining counters and how deep arm wrestling is, because a lot of people think it's really basic sideways motion, but it's not. Right? It's a lot more than that. There's counters to each movement. If this guy pulls this direction, then I pull this direction. So that's what you kind of got to focus on when I'm talking to people. That's when I see their eyes open wide and they're like, "Oh man, there's a lot more to this," and they get all excited about it. So that's something I would focus on when talking to my real friends. I don't recruit a lot of my real friends. I mean, I mentioned all to them, but they kind of see it as that's Derek's thing, and they leave it to me. But I would love for any of them to come to practice and really get into the sport for sure. Obviously, I would be here for them. Just try to show them why you love it. Express that to them, right? And not everybody is just about slamming people's hands. That's not the selling point for a lot of people. So show them the deeper part of arm wrestling. People think it's just a broed out way, a macho man way of expressing your strength, and show them that it's more than that. There's definitely thinking involved, and it's like chess, but you have to earn your chess pieces. That's what I've been saying forever. Arm wrestling is just like chess, because there's counters and moves, and you have to predict, but you don't come equipped with all the chess pieces, right? The answer to this problem was I needed to have more bicep. Okay, so go work on your bicep for 4 months, and then come back with a stronger bicep, So you have to earn your chess pieces, right? So, I don't know. That's one of my favorite parts about the sport. Moving forward, says, posted by Jackson Cool 23456. It says, is Levon Saganashvili left-hand dominant in arm wrestling or right hand? He is left hand, for what I'm told, dominant. There you go. Question answered. Moving forward, posted by Minhale, says, this match convinces me that Levon not only has massive brute strength, but also great table IQ. And then it's a link to the video of him versus Vitali, Levon versus Vitali. And that was great adjustments. I agree. I don't think Levon is a dumb arm wrestler at all. I think he has brute strength, and it's really easy to classify big, old, strong guys like that as dumb, because a lot of times they don't have to do anything technical. A lot of times, Levon or even Dennis, they're so strong that they just grab people by the wrist and it's an easy win, right? So then it's easy to say, oh, they don't have high, table IQ, but it's because they haven't needed it. It's not that they don't have it; it's just they haven't been in a situation where they really had to apply it. Now, there's some points where even Dennis showed high table IQ. If you watch some of his videos, there's times where he's pressed people, he's gone to little King's moves, he's top rolled and stuff like that. It's not super low. It's just most of the times he just grabs you by the wrist and wins. And the same thing with Levon, right? But he did make a great adjustment against Vitali and made Vitali drop his angle and posted into Vitali's fingers and controlled the top part of the match. That was huge. It was a really good adjustment by Levon. So yeah, I agree. Levon is not dumb. All right, moving forward, posted by Stidson J. Had the same thought as this top comment. Look how small Levon is, LOL. Like, how can you come that far in 4 years with just building arm wrestling muscles? So then it's a link to the WAF tournament in 2016, where Levon was in the finals with his teammate Gennady. So back in 2016, yeah, Levon was smaller, but, I mean, he was already a monster at that point. 2016. I mean, if you want to go back to the old videos and pictures of when he was a kid, yeah, maybe you have an argument there. But, 2016, I was there. I went to my first Worlds in 2015, and I saw Levon there, and then 2016, and then I went 2017. So I've seen him. I was in person with him there, and he was huge. He was still a giant gorilla dude walking around, scary as hell. Now he's bigger now. He definitely is a substantially bigger, but to say that that's where he made his biggest gains from 2016, not at all. Not at all. I mean, look at his pictures when he was way younger, and he was that's wild. That the growth is wild, but not between 2016 and 2020. I don't know. Anyway, moving forward, posted by Thom John 12, Uncle John After Dark with special guest Neil Pickup, and then it's John's show where he had Neil Pickup on. They're talking for an hour and 17 minutes. Great stuff. All the stuff Neil's coming out with, he's everywhere right now, and he's so entertaining. And a lot of this interview focuses on Neil as an arm wrestler and just him as a person and his time in the sport, which I don't think he gets the spotlight nearly enough as far as that goes. Great arm wrestler. So you guys get a chance to check that out with John and Neil. I might get Neil on here or John on here. I do like listening to John talk. He has a great channel, and the dude is an intelligent arm wrestler, and he breaks things down really well. So if you guys get a chance, go check out Uncle John's Arm Wrestling Show. I forget the exact name of the channel. Just Uncle John Arm Wrestling, search that out. Sorry, John, I can't remember the exact title of your channel right now. Uncle John's Arm Wrestling Show, I think. Yeah, so you guys check him out for sure. Always give him shout-outs. Smart guy. Next thing, moving forward, posted by Marcus Nen, his arm wrestling strap tutorial, and then it's a video of guys giving arm wrestling strap tutorial, but I believe it's all in a different language, and there's no subtitles. Yeah. So, yep, it's not in English, and there's no subtitles. So, if you guys just want to watch and listen, then go for it. I'm not sure where this is from or what language this is, but they're just working on strap stuff. I mean, strap pulling is, you guys, it is way different. For any of you guys that are listening that are new or just getting into the sport, being efficient in strap arm wrestling and outside the straps is totally different. You have to know how to adjust and how to utilize the strap to apply more power on the table, and that's something that takes time and experience with the straps. So definitely, if you get a chance, focus on your strap arm wrestling. Every practice, you should be in the straps somewhat, because when you get to a high level, there's going to be a lot of strap arm wrestling going down for sure. There's no way around it. Next thing, moving forward, posted by Neither Stay. Says Michael Todd versus Saplenkov in Vendetta 2020, ? Can someone translate the bottom to make better understanding of this? And then it's a poster, and there's some comments. Let me see, did anybody translate this? Either way, I mean, sorry, I'm reading down here to see if anybody commented. Oh, okay, so it says in the poster, it says, would you like to see this arm fight on right arm this year? Thank you for translating that, Ben. So, yeah, Michael Todd and Dennis. I mean, that's always a good match. I like to see anybody test Michael Todd, especially people that have, a scary amount of horsepower like that. But, I don't know. I mean, we've seen the match before. I would be more interested. Seeing new blood. So, the only question between Michael Todd and Dennis would be, where's Dennis at right now? So we know Michael Todd's stronger than he's ever has been. His King's move, the angle is closed even more. His King's move is so good right now, so the angle's so tight that he's even venturing outside of it. He's getting ballsy enough to not sit in it the whole time and kind of experiment with other things. So yeah, I'd be interested to see him venture outside that more, I guess, the people. But with Dennis, if Dennis is anywhere near his past strength, then I don't know. I mean, yeah, we've seen it a few times. I'd be more interested in seeing Levon against either one of these guys and see how that pans out for sure. Moving forward, posted by MHTKMRAG, says Herman Stevens, reads Herman Stevens' comments on Ryan Bowen's Facebook post. I believe the post he's talking about is when Ryan's talking about the size of his wrist. He measured the size of his wrist. I don't know. I mean, my wrists have grown too, I guess, since I started arm wrestling. I think it's just the tendons inside have gotten thicker and things like that. And I mean, I think, yeah, I've definitely gained weight. So a mixture of fatness and tendons have gotten thicker. So my wrists are definitely bigger than when I started. So, yeah, I don't know. If you guys get a minute, maybe measure your wrists and see where they're at in a couple of years and see if they've gotten thicker. I just know I used to be able to reach my fingers all the way around my wrist and overlap my nails, and I can't even touch. I can barely touch my fingers around my wrist right now, so whatever. But maybe my hands just got thicker too. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. I don't think it has a ton of carryover, but there are some guys when you arm wrestle them and their wrists are super thick, it's kind of intimidating. Looks like there is no wrist, it just connects straight up to their hand. All right, next thing posted by the same guy says WLAC Arm Wrestling Championship. Devin Larratt versus Marcio Barboza, all right-handed matches. Yeah, watching these guys pull in the past has always been interesting. I mean, Marcio definitely is a super explosive, powerful dude, and seeing Devin try to find ways around that and how to deal with that has always been a super entertaining matchup. Hopefully I get to see them arm wrestle more often in the future. I'd love to see Marcio and Devin pull more. Moving forward, posted by Vapin Van. Do you prefer the new bloated and unkept Devin Larratt or the younger, lean and well-groomed Devin Larratt? I mean, I don't really care, I guess. He's doing him, man. I mean, I'm not trying to date the guy, so the way he looks, I don't give a shit, really. I mean, just as long as he's putting out good content, teaching people, helping the sport, and Devin is like the definition of all that, then I'm big fan, for sure. I mean, I don't care if he's bloated. What the hell? Why would you care, man? Anyway, moving forward, posted by Coach Ray, it says very tired arm wrestling practice, and it's a link to his YouTube channel on his YouTube channel, which is the Voice of Arm Wrestling, and it's just some table time between him and Giannis Amalins. So you get a chance, check that out. I'm happy that people are still putting some content out there for sure, and Ray's getting thick, man. Ray, how much you weighing right now, man? If you're listening to this, leave a comment. How much you weighing right now? Looks like you're getting thicker, bro. But yeah, seeing some of these guys, these Latvian guys, there's so many strong arm wrestlers on their team. Guys that are going to WAF and they're doing well. It's awesome seeing these guys arm wrestle and train. And hopefully one day I can travel out there and train with you guys, Ray. That'd be awesome. You can make some videos, you guys beating me up, and there you go. Moving forward, posted by Minhale. Has Chafee ever expressed his thoughts on the King's move? I'm sure he's mentioned it. I think in the past when his match was getting ready for Devin specifically, I think he said some stuff about it, but not too much. I think Dave's more. He's a quieter guy, and I think he just wanted to kind of overpower it and kind of run through it. I don't think of Dave as much of a technician, but I've never heard him really talk about it too much. So. Just a little bit, and I don't know his exact thoughts. I don't know if he's like super against it. I mean, maybe he is now. I mean, he had a King's move, right? He did a double King's move against Devin. But I'm not sure. I don't have a solid answer for you there. I don't remember Dave talking about it too much though. Moving forward, posted by Bram87. It says insane popping and creaking in left wrist, but no pain. I've been training recreationally for about 4 to 5 months, and I've never noticed my wrist pop like this before I started. My wrist doesn't hurt when it pops. I did have pain in the base of my thumb from bench pressing and attributed the pain to incorrect grip form. There are definitely multiple things that are shifting every time I rotate my wrist. Whenever I do reverse wrist curls, it pops every rep. I've done some research to figure out the culprit and come up with, I can't even pronounce this, de Quervain's tenosynovitis. A lot of websites say this wrist popping is due to weak forearms, but after training my forearms for months, I know they're not weak. I'm nervous to train through this popping and actually injure the joint. Actually rotating the joint doesn't cause pain, but the amount of sound it makes just feels wrong. Any insight is appreciated. Whenever we talk about these kind of injury posts or anything like that, first and foremost, I'm not a doctor. Go to a doctor. Go get it checked out. That's the first thing I'm going to say. Now, as far as popping, my arms, in my experience, and that's all I can speak about is my experience, with popping and cracking, like, I've had certain things pop and crack for a long time, and then they stopped over time. So, just training your forearm for a couple months, by the way, you're not going to make substantial gains in your wrist and forearm in just a couple months. That stuff takes years. But anyway, my body has changed and my arms have changed throughout the time I've been training for arm wrestling. So things that used to pop and crack all the time, don't anymore, right? So, yeah, I don't know, man. I would say just give it some time. If it's not causing you any kind of pain and stuff like that, the body's usually pretty good about knowing, what's good for it and what's not, and what hurts and what's wrong and right. So I would say just listen to your body and feel it out, man. And then, but definitely go see a doctor. If you think it's anything super serious, go get, some scans on that thing and see if there's anything actually injured. All right, moving forward, posted by MHTK, MRAUG. I gotta pronounce that. I can't pronounce it. I don't know. It says, John Brzenk, arm wrestling training, some noobs beating prime John Brzenk. This is an old video in Southern California at Harold Ryden's house. And some of the guys in this video are absolute legends, right? So John Brzenk's there. I mean, obviously he's a legend. But John Woolsey is there. If you guys don't know who John Woolsey is, it's the guy in the video that looks a lot like Clint Eastwood. Pretty skinny, and he's crazy strong. Alan Fisher was there. Harold Ryden was there, who's a legend in his own right. You'll see a lot of guys there that badass arm wrestlers. Gary Roberts was the one filming it for Arm TV. But yeah, it's a cool practice back then. I was before I started a little bit. It sucks. I wish I could have been there. I actually never got to arm wrestle John Woolsey, which is a Southern California guy. I never got to arm wrestle with him. I met him, I think, a couple times, but we never practiced before. So, it sucks. I don't know where he's at or his current status or anything. I wonder if anybody knows where John Woolsey's at or what he's been up to. Please let me know. All right, moving forward, posted by NNQ2603, Ryan Bowen versus Lachlan Adair, 6-round training super match. And then it's the link to the video of their super match. So I already talked about that. All right, moving forward, posted by Do You Concur 29. It says, Denis Saplenkov can't straighten his arm. I've noticed that in every video I've seen of him, his arms, especially right, do not fully extend. Not even close. Curious to know if this has anything to do with many years of arm strain or he had an actual injury. Please share links or info. From what I see with Dennis, it seems like more of a... He definitely has a form of like a King's move. I don't think his arms straighten out naturally, but I think he can. That's the thing is that Mike's and like Crazy George, their King's move is based off a bone lock, meaning their arms will not straighten out. The bones don't straighten out anymore. Like it's not possible to straighten out their arm. Now, Dennis and a lot of strong arm wrestlers, especially people that do focus on their biceps a lot, are so muscle bound that the range of motion has tightened up. Now that doesn't mean that they can't straighten it out. It's just very tight and very hard to straighten out. So there are certain people that have that. I know a lot of people that focus on curls and biceps so much that they walk around and their arms are bent all the time. And Denis Saplenkov had the strict curl world record, so he would be the guy with the most muscle tightness in his biceps. That would make sense. So yeah, I mean he has a King's move and he can sit on his bicep there and it's really hard to open it up, but it can open. That's the thing. Michael Todd's arm can't open. You can make him stand up and beat him and stuff like that, but his arm doesn't open without breaking, right? So, so that's the difference in my opinion. Oh wow, this is a long post. Oh wow, some guy typed a 4-page long post. Okay, so title or posted by Obolensky Martel. It says, is there an ace of spades with regards to styles and techniques? I'll read some of the top part and then kind of just go over it with you guys. Says, when Devin Larratt made it clear that the King's move is not the ace of spades in arm wrestling, but rather perhaps the queen of something, I asked myself, which is the best technique if one is only allowed to use one, and answered King's move to myself. It probably is. It's definitely the absolutely best defensive move, and it works offensively as well. So then it looks like he kind of, over the course of this giant long post, which I'm not going to read to the whole thing to you guys, he kind of goes over each move and why he thinks what moves are the best. So just sticking to the topic, the real question that you posted, is there an ace of spades with regards to style and technique? I still am a believer in standard arm wrestling rules or philosophies still apply. I still think that controlling the hand and height and the top of the match will generally lead to way more victories than not doing that. Now, having a King's move and having a if your arm straightens out 100%, right, then you don't have a King's move. Okay? So if you don't have a King's move, say we'll talk about random guy walking off the street. If we have two random people walking off the street, is a King's move going to be super effective for them? No. Right? They can't do it without breaking the rules. It's not within the rules. They won't be able to pull it off. So if you're talking about stuff in regards to how to speak to the general public, not the 25 people on the earth that Kings move, but at a high level, but everybody else in the world, then no, the Ace of Spades is not the King's move, right? It would be controlling height, because height transitions into everything, right? So now I know Todd Hutchings might disagree with this, and I even totally understand Todd Hutchings' perspective of this, and Ryan Bowen made a video about this a while ago, talking about undercutting the mountain and going so far in that you can control the bottom part. But in general, controlling the top of the match and the top of the hand and can lead to the most things, right? So if I'm controlling the top of your hand, like I dominate your hand, then that means from there, from just a posting, high posting top roll, I can go into whatever I want. I can transition into a press. I can transition into a hook. I can just keep pronating and pulling backwards and top roll you. I can do whatever I want from there. It moves into, it has options, right? So controlling that part of the arm wrestling match will always lead into more victories on a worldwide scale, right? Now, if you're talking about specific people with, I don't know, you want to call them disabilities or whatever, where their arms don't straighten out, then they are using a different move which isn't available to the public, right? So I'm not even going to talk about that. The King's move, right? I still think the ultimate move is a high hook, right? A high hook controls someone's hand, but doesn't overpronate, so it's not like you're top rolling all the time. You're just really controlling the opponent's hand and maintaining a cup, maintaining your wrist flexion and your posting ability, right? I still think that's the ultimate one as far as what it can lead into. It's not the most powerful one, but the most powerful one you'd have for offense would be flop wrist press, like Jerry. Get rid of your whole wrist joint, let that thing flop back and just shove your arm down as much as you can. If you want to talk about generating force on an arm wrestling table, that's generally the strongest motion you can put on an arm wrestling table, right? But I don't know. Yeah, definitely what will lead to the most victories, if you want to have a great career and not have people have a perfect counter to you, then a high hook will take you the furthest, in my opinion. Because you'll say you're a flop wrist presser. That's great. You're going to win a lot of matches until you meet a guy who's built to stop your flop wrist pressing, right? Or his move is your counter, right? He likes the straps and inside pulling, and he won't let you do that. So then what? Then you're countered so hard, and you now have no options. So if you became a high hooker, like your style is high hooking and controlling the hand, then in your course of your career, you can do whatever you want from there. Now you can become well-rounded. I think that transition into more well-rounded movements in general. So my answer will be a high hook is the Ace of Spades in regards to style and technique. That's my opinion. But I understand what you're saying about the King's move thing. Like, you can't move and open their arm. I get you. But it's just so limiting, and there's not a lot of people that can do it. So I wouldn't say that's the Ace of Spades. Plus, who knows, at some point, someone might make a rule in one of their leagues that you can't do it. Really, really, stop that. And then if you've been hinging the whole time on the fact that your arm won't straighten out, then what are you going to do? You know what I mean? If you've done more traditional arm wrestling and you've been controlling hands and stuff like that, then you'll be in a good spot if someone finally outlaws the King's move. I mean, all it would take is a promoter to host a tournament and make people straighten out their arms before the event and make sure everybody's arms straighten out, and then, to a certain extent. And if they don't, then you'd be in the disabled class. If a promoter did that, then a lot of the King's moves would be gone, right? Because even if someone did try the King's move but their arm went straight, then their shoulder would go under the table and they'd be disqualified. So if your arm straightens out all the way, then you're not going to be able to do a really efficient King's move. There's no way. So when you get to the tournament, they measure, make sure your arms straighten out, and there you go. Just not saying someone should. I'm just saying if someone did that, and then if you didn't have a straight arm, then you're in the disabled class, and you and the other three guys who don't have straight arms can go arm wrestle for the disabled class. Moving forward, posted by user 982363996. It says, how to watch WL from Sweden. I'm getting more and more into arm wrestling, mainly watching, and I wonder how I can watch WL live streams in Sweden. Oh, man, I can't remember the name of the program. Hopefully someone posted it. Fan Seat. There you go. The people in Europe, they say use the Fan Seat app. So, Fan Seat, check that out. Out here in the States, we use Bleacher Report, the Bleacher Report app. But yeah, use Fan Seat app in Europe. That's how you're supposed to be able to watch WAL. Moving forward, posted by Jackson Cool 23456. Says Levon's bone structure. When I saw Levon pics when he was younger but not a child, he seemed to have smaller fingers, wrists, and fists. How did he grow them? Does HGH increase that? I hope any one of you would help. Wow, you're really... Anyway, from what I hear, I've never taken HGH, but from what I'm being told, HGH is human growth hormone, which applies to everything, right? It grows everything in your body, so your wrists, your fingers, and everything like that will grow, including your internal organs and all that stuff. So a lot of people that have heavy HGH use in their past, like you'll see bodybuilders or really big guys who have a six-pack, right? You're like, wow, how does that guy have a giant belly and a six-pack on top of it? A lot of times, it's because their internal organs have grown so much from so much HGH use for a long time that it's pushing their abdomen out, so it's forcing their ab muscles to the front of their belly, so the abs are kind of shining through their big old belly. That's generally what happens with HGH. That's why you see a lot of professional bodybuilders with that huge gut and the abs on top, because the GH has grown all their internal organs and pushed it out. That also, usually you'll see them get more of that caveman-y look. The brow, their eyebrow will get thicker. The bone, their fingers and wrists will get thick. Not saying Dennis Plankhoff has ever used that, but if you want to see what someone on a lot of HGH would look like, check that guy out. All right. Moving forward. Posted by Paracortis, it says, Rob Vigent Jr. versus Chuck Ryder, $1,000 super match. Some people didn't expect this result. And then it's a link to the video of them arm wrestling. So what happened, basically, to summarize, Chuck Ryder posted some videos on Facebook of him lifting and doing some unconventional lifts with like a bucket. He put a bucket on the ground. It's quarantine time. We're all doing some crazy stuff to get stronger. I get it. He put a bucket on the ground and he put a bunch of heavy stuff in the bucket and was lifting it up. And Rob Vigent, very smart arm wrestler, obviously, hammer holder, the man, critiqued Chuck's bucket lifting angles and said, hey, that's not a good lift. Chuck didn't take too well to the criticisms and disrespect. And then Chuck called out Rob Vigent and said, hey, I can beat you. And then put up $1,000, and Chuck Ryder actually flew up to Rob Vigent's area and had a super match with Rob Vigent at at the Granite Arms household, or Badger Drew's business. And and then Rob Vigent won 3-0 pretty convincingly. But, Chuck had balls for doing that, for sure. Shout out to Chuck for getting on a plane and going in there into somebody else's town, surrounded by the other guy's friends and family, and pulling him, and backing up his talk. So, props to you, man. All right, move forward. Posted by Obolensky Martel. Oh, this guy. That's the same guy that made the really long post, and he makes another really long post. Okay, I appreciate it. On the Reddit thing, making the long post, man. It's just going to be hard for me to read all that right now, because yeah. It says, how should/will people stop the King's move? And so he goes on at length to describe how he thinks people should, his experiences with King's moves, and how he thinks people should beat it. So, in general, man, the people that are King's moving are pronating with their frame, right? So it's not simple pronation. It's not simple cupping. You don't just grab the guy on the King's move by the wrist and just cup really hard and you'll eat up his pronation, because that's kind of what he alludes to here. This is how do you stop the King's move. Man, I've been thinking about the King's move for years, as a lot of arm wrestlers have. And I've pulled a few people with it, and through just all the videos and people I see be successful, you kind of have two options, man. You got to flash them, or find a way to apply enough pressure to make them think their arm is going to break. And so they stand up, right? So we're talking about real King's moves. We're talking about people who have bone locks. Their arms don't open up. Okay, So not your little imitation one at your local tournament where some guy just flies under the table and he's breaking all the rules and his arm actually straightens out. Not those little wannabe Kings moves. I'm talking about an actual one where the guy shoulder is above the table and his arm does not straighten out. Those ones, you have to apply enough pressure where, through pressing or just, rising through their hand and dominating their hand enough where the leverage is completely gone somehow, and you can apply enough pressure for them to stand up. So there are a few ways, that you can take that however you want. Apply enough pressure, right? Is that through hooking, pressing, however you can apply a ton of pressure to make him think his arm's going to snap. Do that, right? Or flash them before they get in the King's move. Those are your two options. Or I guess you could foul them out. But we're talking about just pinning, how to pin someone with the King's move. It's one of those two things, right? So that's it. So, if you're not flashing them, then how do you apply enough pressure? Some people, Devin versus Michael Todd, their old super match, the old one, was a textbook example of Devin rising into Michael Todd's fingers until he controlled his entire hand and then pressing down. And Devin was able to apply enough pressure by pressing to make Michael Todd stand up. But everybody's answer is different, man. Some people are short arms and it's hard for them to top roll like that, and so they'd have to find a different way to apply enough pressure to make a King's move guy stand up. So that's the answer, made short for you. You gotta do one of those two things. That's the only way to beat a real King's move. Now, if someone's just muscle tight, then you can do other things, right? Because I've arm wrestled people who have a bicep hold, right? Like a really sick one where their arm is just so muscle bound it won't open up. Now it's different because now it's not since it's not bone, then the pronation won't come through the bone. You know what I'm saying? So there's two different types of pronation. This is something I learned from Ingen. There's pronating with your frame, meaning look at your hand right now and you're doing like a hammer curling pose, right? Your hand is straight up, your thumb is facing the sky. Then if you just drop your shoulder, like if you're going to pin someone on an arm wrestling table, you drop your right shoulder to the left. So I'm using my right hand in this one, right? If I drop my right shoulder to the left and I bend my knees like I'm on an arm wrestling table, then really I didn't pronate my hand. I didn't use any flexion in my pronator muscles on my hand. I held tight and I pronated through my frame by dropping my shoulder. So my arm and my whole body twisted. And that's how I pronated, right? That was with my frame. Then there's pronating within your hand, meaning do the same thing. Look at your hand with your thumb facing the sky, and now turn your wrist, just your wrist, so that you see the top of your hand, right? Now that's pronation flexion. That's you actually flexing the muscles in your forearm to pronate your hand. Now that's really weak for everybody. It's weak for me. I've never really trained it. Most Americans don't train it. Most Americans, and I'm saying Americans specifically, never train that style of pronation. They only pronate in their frame. So when you're in a King's move, since a King's move is through the bone, right? So since Michael Todd's bone doesn't open up, it's locked in place, then what he does is when he pronates, he just dips his frame and that pronates his entire hand. So he's not it's not all pronation flexion that he's using, although he does have that, don't get me wrong. But I'm saying that kind of pronation is coming from his frame, right? So you're arm wrestling against his bone, his frame rotating, not just his wrist pronation flexion. If you guys get what I'm saying, so hopefully I explained it well enough to you. So yeah, you don't just wrist curl that. But when you're facing someone with a bicep King's move, right, then they're not rotating through their frame. They're relying on their bicep and flexion usually, which is a lot weaker. So you can cup through that type of pronation. So I pulled, for instance, Scott Mendelson, who his bicep does not like open up all the way. He's very, very tight in his bicep, right? He has like a King's move. If you hit into it, it's super duper hard. He had a match with Michael Todd at the Arnold's where Michael Todd tried to go right through Scott's bicep and you couldn't. I couldn't even go right through Scott's bicep. But when I pulled Scott, there was different holes there. There's different things in his game where you could rotate him and move his arm around because he wasn't pronating through his frame. He was trying to actually like flex and control through flexion, control my hand, which wasn't going to happen, right? So there's just different ways around people that use King's move with their muscles and King's move with their bones, right? It's a whole different ballgame. I always tell people that when I arm wrestled people with the King's move like through their bone, it's like putting 10 pillows on the front of a Mack truck, like a big diesel truck. So you put 10 pillows on the front of it and the truck starts rolling forward slowly, right? And so you're sitting there, you're pushing against the pillows, and you're like, okay, this isn't bad. Okay, I feel the resistance, but it's nothing crazy. Then suddenly, when all their frame locks in and all the joints get to their full extent, then you just feel this overwhelming force just move you out of the way. And that's what it is when the King's move starts getting offensive, is that like you feel good until that frame just starts moving. Right now, you're trying to hold up their entire body weight with all joints fully extended, and it's a really, really weird feeling, right? All right, moving forward. Posted by NNQ2603, says Schoolboys Arm Wrestling Training May 2020, and it's a video of Schoolboy out in Russia arm wrestling. I can't wait till one day arm wrestle with Schoolboy. Check that out when you guys get a chance on Arm Wrestling TV. Help out my boy Alex. All right, next posted by Hate America. Damn, man. It says, I'm tired of the roids comments. Whenever I watch a YouTube video about Dennis or Levon, people in the comments diminish their hard work by saying they're strong because of roids. like hell, it's obvious that they're on something, but you can't say it's the only reason they're strong. If anything, roids give you extra strength and extra mass, but it's only extra help. They spend hours of training hard to be as strong as they are. So this becomes more of a debate on this one about steroids, and it's not like just a magic pill or whatever injection that you take and you're just suddenly a monster. It's a lot of it you have to work at it. If you take it, then you have to double up your efforts in the gym and stuff. So, but that doesn't mean that, like, what about the other guy who's not taking steroids, who's also killing it in the gym, right? But he's not making those gains, So there's that argument for sure. I mean, obviously, a lot of guys, the top guys, are on steroids. And until the sport is able to ban that, the thing is, a lot of the guys, not all of them, but a lot of the guys right now, say steroids were really somehow outlawed and like tested, and there was just no way, everybody was clean suddenly. You would see some movement, but you wouldn't see a ton of it. I'm telling you that you would see a lot of the same guys on top, because those are the guys that wanted the worst, like, not saying other people don't want it, but some people want it so bad that they're willing to jab themselves with a needle in their jugular and, put in engine oil or whatever they have to make themselves super powered. Some people are willing to do that and willfully throw their lifespan away and everything like that to accomplish this goal, right? And like, I mean, not saying it's right, not saying it's not cheating or anything like that, but I'm saying that is commendable, that they're so dedicated to their goal that they're willing to openly do that. Openly shorten their lifespan to get stronger. Now, some people are willing to do that, and some people aren't. Some people, obviously, have families, have kids, and this isn't that big of a deal to them. It's more important that they live longer and hold their grandchildren, and that's a decision you have to make with yourself, right? And so, even if we took away a lot of steroids, those guys are still a lot of times, not all the time, obviously there's outliers, and there's certain people that this doesn't apply to, but for the most part you'd see a lot of the same guys on top. Those are the guys that are willing to do anything to get to the top. They will kill and stab and do anything to make it to the top, obviously, right? So I don't think there'd be a big flux. I would say maybe in the lighter weight divisions, maybe, but as far as the top world rankings, I don't think you would see that huge of a movement if everybody was suddenly clean. I don't know, just my opinion. Who knows? Moving forward, posted by Minhale, says, what is the significance of elbow placement during the setup? What does it say about pulling style? Oh, it's a deep question, Minhale. How much farther do we have to go? I'm already going for an hour and 3 minutes. Holy crap, you guys were crazy on Reddit. Oh man, there's still like 15 posts. Well guys, I think I went back a little too far for this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and call it there. We'll do this last one right here that Minhale posted. So he's asking about elbow placement during the setup and what does it mean about pulling style. Elbow placement, the way you use your chest in my experiences, the way you utilize chest in arm wrestling is by sliding your elbow around, right? That's how chest is utilized. It's where your elbow is, right? So there's been a lot of times where I will have my elbow, so say we're talking about right-handed arm wrestling here. I'll have my elbow to the front right of the pad in order to maximize my height and attack someone's fingers, therefore sacrificing my chest in a lot of ways in order to get height and to get into someone's fingertips if I'm top rolling, right? So there's times I'll give up my chest. Now, I had a match with, who was it? Seth Barnett. So in my older style of arm wrestling, and I'm getting away from this, but in my older style of arm wrestling, I was always so hand dominant. My hand felt really good. So no matter what, when I would arm wrestle somebody that I respected a lot, I didn't know how strong they were. Someone new, I immediately try to topple them. I go into their hand because I never trusted my bicep at a high level. So I would start arm wrestling with someone, and I would go into their hand to kind of see what kind of power they're working with. And then once I would test the waters, then I would be like, oh, okay, I could hook with this guy, or I can do whatever I want. Right? So I went out to New York. I arm wrestled a guy named Seth Barnett, who is, I think he's number 1 or number 2 left-handed at 200 pounds. Right? Or somewhere around there. He's very, very good left-handed arm wrestler on that side of the country, for sure. One of the top guys. Been arm wrestling for a long time. Seen videos of him forever. Never met the guy. Never arm wrestled him. And I'm like, oh man, here we go. I'm a super heavyweight from California. I'm out here in New York, and I'm gonna try to arm wrestle this guy. And I'm probably gonna get embarrassed. So the first match, and Seth is fast. I know he kind of pulls outside or up top, and he's fast. He's known for hitting really hard. So instead of bracing my chest and everything inside and getting ready to try to hold him all in my bicep, I left my elbow out, and I challenged his hand. We had a ridiculous climbing war and everything like that. We had a pretty long match, and he beat me the first time. And I was like, oh my gosh, I lost to Seth left-handed. I was like, crap. So, but what I noticed in there when we had this war is that, one, he didn't dominate my hand. It was more of an angles thing, and since he was tight and he hit, he got really far out there on my hand. And I was like, oh no, but my hand, I felt the angles, I could hang, and I felt that, more importantly, I felt the power. I felt what was in his bicep and chest and shoulder. And I was like, okay, I can do that. That's not overwhelming at all. And if I don't put everything into the fingers like I did, and I actually try to control his hand, like control it, then I'll be fine. So the first match, I lost to him in like this kind of long war, and that got posted. And then, but the second 2 matches, I make it to the finals because he pulled super heavyweights. I make it to the finals, and I beat him 2 times in a row, and it's like an entirely different match. Because what I did was, I was like, okay, I can hang with this guy, so I slid my elbow all the way over, so I engaged my chest fully, and my shoulder fully, and my flexion, my cupping, and then he hit, and I knew my hand was strong enough to hold in, but now he hit right into all my major muscle groups, because I tightened it up that way. Instead of targeting his hand and flying my arm away from my body to target his hand, I tightened everything up, and it looks like, yeah, my arm doesn't move from the center table. And he had just beaten me just before that, right? But it was more because I felt him hit into my chest. I felt all those muscles engage and how tight I was, and then my left arm didn't move. And then I beat him twice, and I won the tournament left-handed. So it was just me realizing, okay, I just had to test the waters a little bit. So as far as elbow placement, it kind of shows, what you want to do. If you want to drag back, then you're utilizing, your lats more and stuff like that. But what's the significance of elbow placement during the setup? That's how you want to use your chest. Right to the right or to the left of the elbow pad is how you use your chest. Now to the front or to the back would be when you're worrying about height of your arm, right? Or setting up runways, right? So sometimes you'll set up in the middle of the pad and not the front of the pad because you want to shoot forward and up. You want to give yourself a little bit of a runway. Or sometimes you'll set up at the back of the pad if your arm's too long, right? So I think forward and backwards has to do with height, climbing up or going low, and to the right or to the left have to do with your chest engagement and how much side pressure and stuff you plan on using. That's what I'd say. I guess answering it off the top of my head right now. Hopefully I don't change my mind on that. Anyway, guys, so that's an hour and 8 minutes of me talking. Thanks for listening if you guys did. I'm not going to hold you guys too much longer. I'll try to cover the rest of this stuff next week. But yeah, so you guys go out there, keep training. Things are getting back. Stores are opening up. Things are starting to open up. There's gyms out here that are opening up. You guys get a chance, go lift, go train. It's going to be crazy when we're all done with all this stuff, how much more powerful people that have been training are going to be than people that have been sitting around and using excuses, right? So go out there, be bold as shit, apply yourselves, keep loving this sport, and I'll see you guys next week.